A fleeting hope for peace, the unraveling of a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. After 12 days of unprecedented conflict between Iran and Israel, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire agreement. The terms stipulated that Iranian forces would cease hostilities first, with Israel following suit 12 hours later. The subsequent 12 hours were meant to symbolize the end of a war that had claimed hundreds of lives and brought destruction to Tehran, Beersheba, and many other locations.
Ceasefire crumbles as rockets strike Israel. However, just as the ceasefire officially came into effect in the early hours of the morning Polish time, the situation took a dramatic turn. The Israeli military reported detecting a volley of ballistic missiles launched from Iranian territory targeting northern Israel. An immediate order was issued for residents to seek shelter and remain there until further notice. Sirens blared in Haifa and surrounding areas. Civilian authorities and a public statement left no doubt. This was a blatant violation of the delicately negotiated truce.
Escalation and casualties. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz immediately responded to the attack, ordering a decisive response and intensive airstrikes on regime targets in central Tehran. Simultaneously, the IDF announced that more rockets were heading towards Israeli territory. Some were intercepted by missile defense systems, but not all. One missile struck a residential building in Beersheba, killing at least 4 people and injuring a dozen more.
Conflicting narratives and diplomatic efforts. Hours earlier, Iranian media had reported an ultima wave of rockets launched towards Israel just before the ceasefire was to take effect. Official statements from Tehran were contradictory. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi insisted that if Israel ceased its aggression by 4 a.m. local time, Iran would also halt military operations. However, the reality was different. The rocket barrages continued. Trump, attempting to de-escalate the situation, posted thanks to Iran on social media for the early warning and expressed hope that the animosity was finally over. In his post, the U.S. president assured that no one was killed in the attack on an American base in Qatar and that the United States was ready to support peace in the region.
Continued hostilities and uncertainties. Meanwhile, the reality on the ground was brutal. Iranian nuclear scientist Mohammad Reza Siddiqui was killed in Israeli attacks overnight. According to sources in Tehran, the attack occurred before the official start of the ceasefire. Iran considered this a provocation and a final warning meant to justify further military response. Israeli and foreign media reported conflicting accounts. Some claimed the ceasefire had taken effect, while others stated it was never formally signed. American sources reported that a ceasefire had been agreed upon and communicated to both sides, but there was no confirmation in official statements from Tehran. Iranian state media even claimed the ceasefire was imposed on Israel after Iran's successful military response.
Chaos reigned among the populations of Israel and Iran. Powerful explosions were heard in Tehran overnight as Israel conducted airstrikes on dozens of military and infrastructure targets. According to the Israeli government, the army gained complete control over Tehran's airspace and destroyed dozens of key government targets. Iranian authorities remained silent on the number of casualties, but unofficial data suggested at least 9 people, including women and children, died in Gilan alone.
While the world hoped for an end to hostilities, both sides of the conflict vied for declarations of victory. Israel announced it had eliminated the nuclear and ballistic threat. Iran claimed it had demonstrated its strength and dealt severe blows to American interests in the region. Donald Trump, calling the conflict a 12-day war, declared a diplomatic success. However, experts warned that this was only the beginning of a new, unpredictable phase. In an interview with NBC News, President Trump assured that the ceasefire would last forever. Yet, just a few hours later, we learned that this declaration was overly optimistic. Former Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman commented, "A truce without a clear agreement will only lead to another war under worse conditions."
The situation in the region remains tense. Iran warns that any further aggression will be met with an even stronger response.
Israel, in turn, pledges it will not tolerate any violation of its sovereignty. American intelligence reports that Iran did not manage to remove all enriched uranium before the bombing of facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. It is also unknown whether other, unknown atomic facilities exist.
Once again, hope for peace has faded in the Middle East. The world watches the developments with concern. In the shadow of political declarations and diplomatic assurances, people in Tehran, Beersheba, and many other cities are hiding in shelters. They are waiting for an end to the war that never comes, for peace that remains only a promise. This day was meant to be the beginning of the end of the conflict. Instead, it became another chapter in an endless story of pain, fear, and uncertainty.